Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tasha Smutney. I am a double gold consultant and a three-time IOTAN card holder. Go ahead, find that chat for me. Let me know where you're joining me from, how long you've been in the business, questions you might have about the booking process, or if you just need to know everything, whatever that case may be for you. Let me know where you're at so that way I know who's listening in today. And if you're watching live on Facebook, you can also do the same there. So, for those who don't know me, I've been in the business just about 3.5 years. I started in June of 2022. I am also a full-time, I work as a public school music teacher, and I live in the Boston area of Massachusetts. So there's quite a lot of information here. So we're going to get started, but basically we're going to talk about everything from somebody inquires with you, right? They reach out to you and say, "Hey, I'm interested in booking a trip." All the steps from that point through the client returns from their trip. Okay, so that is what we're talking about here with our booking start to finish and the basics of what that looks like. I found that I had a lot of new agents who would say, "I don't want to try to get a client until I see the whole picture of what that booking process looks like." Right? So, overview, we're going to go over that client consult, researching quotes, delivering quotes and closing sales, all the details when it comes to booking, and then next steps. Because just because we made the booking doesn't mean our job is completely done. Okay? So, first, we're going to talk about qualifying the client. You'll often hear us ask when you reach out for help and you say, "Hey, who has a recommendation for?" A lot of times we see agents say, "Who has a recommendation for an all-inclusive in the Bahamas or an all-inclusive in Jamaica or wherever?" And that's not going to be enough information for us to help you because I could book 5 families the same exact week to Cancun to all inclusive, 5 clients, and they'd be 5 completely different trips. Because maybe one of them is a girls' weekend for somebody's birthday, and you got a bunch of, 25 to 30-year-old women just going to have a great time. And then another client is a family with 2 kids, ages 8 to 10 or so. And then another is a couple celebrating their wedding anniversary. See how already these are completely different. Maybe then there's a fourth group, and they are a multi-generational family. They've got the grandparents, all the aunts and uncles, all the cousins. Every single one of those clients is going to want a completely different experience. So we need to, number one, get all that information to properly plan and customize the travel plans for each client. This includes somebody responds to you posting a travel ad. While they may want the resort you booked, not booked, you advertised, that might not actually be the best fit for them. We still want to qualify them. We don't want to just say, "Oh, yeah, for your family, the price would be this." We still want to get on the phone with them and get all the details so that we can match the resort, match the trip, match the cruise line, match the itinerary to those clients specifically. Because otherwise, we're just a booking website and we're not fully doing our job. The other reason we want to fully qualify our clients is because we want to weed out, sort through the people, and make sure we're not starting to do work for somebody who's just going to waste our time. We want to make sure we know, are they serious and ready to actually book? Because if they're not, they're wasting our time. right? Is this someone who's just going to ask us for the pricing and they're searching online, and if it's, the same price or $10 more, they're going to book it themselves? We don't want to the people that are going to waste our time. Or somebody says, "Oh, I just want to get an idea of the price so I know how much money to save, but we're not going to be ready to book this. Probably we're not even going to start booking until 6 months from now." All right, I completely understand. I can give you a general idea of what something that you're looking for would be, but I'm not going to put together like a detailed quote for you because it can change day to day. I'll reach back out to you just before 6 months and ask you if this is still the trip that you would like to plan. Your pricing can change within 24 hours. Honestly, your pricing can change. I could look up flights right now or hotel prices, and I could look it up 5 hours from now, and the pricing could have changed. If they're not going to be ready to book, we can't give them true ideas of what it's going to cost. So let's take a look at what this qualifying process looks like. All right. Number one, it's going to be a phone call. We want to get clients on the phone. Number one reason, this is a relationship building business. These are people who eventually have to trust you to give you their credit card information to book on their behalf. I wouldn't give somebody I've never spoken to on the phone my credit card information. And if they won't get on the phone with you, they're never going to book with you. Also, it's going to waste a lot of time going back and forth on an email or going back and forth on text messages, Messenger, whatever the case may be. And messaging, whether it be any of those forms, can lead to misunderstandings about what the client actually wants. So it is in your very best interest to get on the phone with the client. Now, exceptions to this could be, oh, they live local to you and they'd like to meet up to do it. By no means do you have to do something like that, but there's definitely agents who, they meet at a coffee shop with somebody or something like that. Sometimes some clients do request a video call. They want to see that you're a real person, right? Part of the reason for the phone call too is for both you and the client to make sure that this is somebody that's real. A call, at least. We want to come prepared for that call. What I mean by that is if they've already told you, "Hey, we want to travel around Easter and we want to go to Europe and we want to go to England, France, and Italy." Show them that you care what they already told you. This does not mean start researching and preparing quotes. This means when you get on the phone, you say, "So you told me that you would like this, this, and this. Is that still correct, what you'd like to talk about and what you'd like to plan?" Maybe their plans changed, but it shows that you paid attention to what they told you. Okay? Now we're going to use the inquiry forms. These can be found. And now every leader has their own Start Me's, their own getting started guides. So if you do not know where to find your inquiry guides, your inquiry forms, please reach out to your mentor. All right. I believe they're all on everyone's Start Me's. Their getting started guide as a new agent. So what I've done though, I have pulled them up. It is going to depend on the type of trip. If they're flying somewhere or driving somewhere and getting a hotel, this is, or a resort, this is a land inquiry form. Okay. Now I will tell you the information is all the same on here. I've just taken mine and organized them in a way that makes sense to me. So Of course, we need their basic info, name, email, phone number, as well as where would you like to go? You saying domestic, you traveling international. If they are traveling international, do they have a passport and will it be valid for at least 6 months after their travel dates? There are countries that require them to be valid 6 months post travel, right? So if it's going to expire like right after their travel dates, we want to talk to them about renewing. What are their dates that they want to check in and out? Now, what I do is I make a copy of this and I fill it out as I'm talking to the client. This is not a form that we send to the client prior to the phone call. I fill this out. I would probably, prior to the call, have as much information up here as what they've told me and I already know. For example, if they contacted me by email, I have their email. I know the phone number because we're about to have a call. I know their name. They've kind of told me where they want to go, maybe, maybe not. Sometimes people are just like, can you help me book a trip? Now, are their dates flexible? What I typically do, I will just highlight yes or no, right? All it is that little highlight button. I highlight the word and I do it. Now, sometimes I have to skip around on here because the consult should be less of an interview, more of a conversation. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes they tell me something and wherever I am on the form, I just type it in. I can move it later, right? I can copy and I can cut it out and paste it later. Now, this may seem like a weird question. Do you need to travel only in one work week? For someone like me, I'm a teacher. My time off during the school year is specific. Yes, I have to travel only in that one work week when we have breaks. Other people, depending on their jobs, it may be more flexible that they could travel, let's say, a Wednesday to a Tuesday or a Tuesday, depending on how many days. The reason that could be important is because sometimes flying those days are going to save them money. The flights will be less. Sundays are very busy days for flights and in the airports because a lot of people are returning on those dates. Okay. So that's why those types of questions are important. We need to know who's going, how many total, how many are adults, how many are children. We do have to know the age of the children at the time of travel. If they are bringing a child under 2, we're going to want to ask them, do you want the seat purchased for that child or will they be sitting on the lap of an adult? Up to 2 years old, or until they turn 2, they can be a lap child and they don't need their own ticket. Sometimes on international flights, there is still a small fee. Sometimes there is not. So you want to look at that. But we do have to know the ages of the children, right? We're going to talk about what type of accommodations they want. Again, hey, what type of feel do you want at your hotel? What type of atmosphere? Are you looking for just a place to go and relax? And you don't really need any bells and whistles, or you don't need any activities. You just want to go and get away, unplug, relax. Are you looking for something that has nightlife? You're traveling with just adults. Do you only want adults only locations, or are you okay with something that's family friendly? And now, when I'm doing these, the questions are very similar on the other inquiry forms. Obviously, there'd be things specific to cruise, specific to Disney, but still knowing the atmosphere they want is going to be the same. If they need more than one room, how are they splitting the people up? I could have a group of 12 and they want 6 rooms of 2. I could have a different group of 12. They want 4 rooms of 3, 3 rooms of 4. They want They got grandma and grandpa, they need their own room. There's a mom and a dad and two kids, they need a room. We're up to six people. Then, there's a young couple, they want a room. And then there's four college age kids in the group in this family, and they're sharing a room. It might be the same number in each room, it might not be. Ask them how they're splitting up the larger parties. For reference, it is not technically a group booking unless there are 10 hotels or more for the most part, right? Cruise cabins, it's going to be at least eight with two people each, is what's considered a cruise cabin. Now, how many beds do they want? We can specifically book a king or two queens rooms sometimes. Sometimes it'll say one or the other, depending what's available at check-in. So we want to make sure if they definitely, it's two people in the room and they want two beds, we have to make sure that we put that request into the hotels. Now, what type of room do they want? This is especially important at resorts, but also if they're going to a city, do they want a city view room? Right? They're going to Paris. Oh, we want a hotel that's by the Eiffel Tower and we want an Eiffel Tower view room. All right. Oh, I'm going to the Caribbean. I want my room. I want to be able to at least see the ocean or I want to be able to walk out onto the beach. Or I really don't care. I don't care what my view is. I'm just going to be in the room to sleep. Same with cruise cabins, right? I do not book interior cabins for me. I'll book whatever my client wants. I need at least a window to see outside because I need natural light and I like to know what time of day it is when I'm in the cabin. I also like to see the ocean at night, so at least a window to see it. I prefer a balcony, but I don't always get a balcony, right? Do they want a suite, whether that's on a cruise ship or at a hotel? Be aware that sometimes a suite on a cruise ship is not multiple rooms. So check if they want a multiple room situation, you got to really check that. Okay. But ask them what they want. Some people want, for their bigger families, they want a two-bedroom or they want connecting rooms, all those types of things. Do you have a hotel brand preference? So here's what I actually ask. I don't ask it that way. I will ask, what hotels have you stayed at that you've absolutely loved? Great. Why did you love them? Are there any hotels you've stayed at that you would never want to go back to again? And tell me why. This now gives me an idea of the level of service they're accustomed to, as well as what they like or don't like at a resort. Same with cruise lines. Hey, have you cruised before? What cruise lines have you gone on if you've cruised before? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Would you want to cruise on that cruise line again? Okay. No matter what type of booking, we're going to ask if they need flights. Now, please be aware, somebody might have multiple choices of airports. For me, I live 30 miles north of Boston. I avoid the airport in Boston whenever possible. There's traffic getting into Boston. It's a bigger airport. It's stressful. There is an airport 30 minutes north of me in New Hampshire. It's a smaller regional airport, one terminal. If I can fly from there, I do, even if the flight is $100 or sometimes $200 more. Saves me stress, saves me cost on parking significantly. Sometimes that $100, $200 difference, depending on the length of trip, is more savings than I would have spent on parking. Right? Ask them if they have multiple options and what their preference is. Do they care about what time their flight is? There are definitely people that say, I want the first flight of the day. I want to get there early and get to my destination early. There are people that say, I hate morning flights. I don't want to have to be there at 3 in the morning. I like a midday flight. I want my flight to arrive right before check-in so I don't have to worry if they'll give me early check-in or not. All that type of stuff. Do you mind an overnight flight? This is especially important with me in the East Coast, people flying from here to Europe, a lot of the flights are overnight. They don't, that's not the only option, but there's many that leave, 7, 8 o'clock at night and arrive in the morning into Europe. Also, cross-country flights within the US, oftentimes there's an overnight flight option. Some people really don't want that. Sometimes, flying from Hawaii, sometimes flying back from places in Mexico. We want to ask them if they're okay with that. And are they only okay with that on the trip home? Or are they okay with that the day they go to their destination? Do you have an airline preference or airlines you don't want to fly? Again, so that you're all aware, if they say, yeah, I want to book with JetBlue because I want to use my points, they're going to have to book their flight themselves. We cannot book with their flights, with their points. Because typically to book with points, you have to be logged into your either credit card that you got the points from or the airline that you have the loyalty program with. Now, with that being said, they can still accumulate points when we book their flights. Okay. But we can't book with them. The one exception that I know of is if you're booking with American Airlines Vacations, typically we can use it on there. Okay. Now, what class of ticket do we want? I will tell you it is very rare that I will book basic economy. The biggest reason is they can't choose a seat, which people don't like, and it's non-refundable. Even with travel insurance, sometimes they're still non-refundable unless you get a travel insurance that specifically says it covers non-refundable elements. Okay? I typically will at least upgrade to main cabin or there's different term or just economy without the word basic. But do they want to pay more for their flights to include the cost of a checked bag? Do they want business class? Do they want first class? All right. I do get people when they're flying long haul flights, they want that business class where there's seats that will lay back more, there's a bit more space, right? Are they willing to spend the extra or they want to spend that to have a different flight experience? Now, I will say this. If I'm just upgrading enough to include bags, I will typically compare. So I was looking at a flight yesterday on Southwest. The cost to include bags was over $100 more for one person. The bag fee is $35. Even round trip, that's only $70. So it didn't make sense to pay more to get a bag included because they're still paying more than the bags will cost, right? So I do look at that because I never want to charge a client more than we have to. Do we only want nonstop flights? More and more people don't want connections because they're worried about delays or cancellations of part of their trip, right? Families with young children do not want to have to make connections if they don't have to. If we are booking with connections, we want to keep track of connection times, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I also let my clients know, I understand that's what you want. Please understand that nonstop flights typically cost more money. And some people will say, "Oh, well, if it's a lot more, we'll deal with a change, you know?" All right. Now, additional info. I find it important to ask these things. Like, do you have any special needs that I need to be aware of that I would put on the reservation? Medical needs. This can include things like They have to have refrigeration for medication. So they need something that has a refrigerator. Not all hotels have something that is a refrigerator. Some of them have what they call a beverage cooler, which is not suitable for medication, right? Do they do they have injectable medication and they need a sharps container, right? Do they have mobility issues and they need an accessible cabin or hotel room? Now, is that, they just need grab bars and that's enough? Or do they need room for a wheelchair or electric scooter? Those are two different types of accessible rooms. Or is it a vision or hearing impairment that they need for hearing, flashing light in the room for things or different things like that? Do they have food allergies? Very important for resorts that are all inclusives and for cruises. We want to make sure that we find out for them the food allergy protocol so that they can make an educated decision about if that's going to be a safe location for them. And yeah, that includes phone calls, right? Now, this one, do they need extra space or leg room for either airline seats or rental cars? Somebody, a few months ago, they had a group of people, they got a rental car. They failed to let her know that they were like four guys that were over 6 feet tall. Now she told them that they got a compact car because they wanted to save money. They didn't physically fit in that rental car. They had to upgrade at the rental car company because their legs were too long. They were too big. Their heads were hitting the ceiling. These little things can help if we take care of it in the booking process. Do they want a rental car, depending where they're going? What activities would they like to add onto their package? Do they want tours? Do they want to go snorkeling? Do they want to go to museums? Do we need to add transfers? Right? Maybe they're driving to the location they're going to take a cruise and they're staying overnight in a hotel, but they want, a package that's going to, include that parking or something like that. Or they're flying into their cruise location and they don't want to have to Uber to the port. They'd like transfers. We can add those things. That's part of activities and extras. Now, I do not say, would you like travel insurance? I say, so that you know, I quote all of my trips for clients with travel insurance, and here's why. I educate them on why travel insurance is important. So many people think that travel insurance is just for if they're going to cancel their trip or they think they might not be able to go. Yes, there's cancellation in there, and we want to make sure it's canceled for any reason, but that's not the only thing it covers. It covers if you have a delay that's beyond certain amount of hours, it covers expenses like buying food at the airport. The airlines do not always have to provide you a hotel. And if they don't, travel insurance will reimburse for things like the cost of that night in the hotel, the cost of the transportation to get to the hotel. We just have to let our clients know, save all your receipts. Travel insurance will cover medical emergencies outside of the country because oftentimes your health insurance from the US does not cover you internationally. On the cruise ship, those medical centers do not take regular health insurance. You're going to get a bill and you're going to have to then be reimbursed. And you might go, oh, well, nothing major is going to happen, but maybe somebody goes on the cruise and they didn't know they were going to get really seasick and they need prescription seasick medicine. They have to go to the medical center. I was on a cruise once and a little kid, like a family we'd been talking to all along, we saw them the next day. He got a big band-aid on his head. We're like, oh my goodness, buddy, what happened? Well, something happened that he bumped his head going down the slide, the water slide, and he needed stitches. Now, travel insurance will cover the cost of him getting stitches for cutting his head open, right? It covers a lot more. It covers medical evacuation or repatriation back to your own country. Like you got to be helicoptered out of somewhere, or you had a medical emergency, you ended up in a hospital, they now help you get back to your own country or the United States, as most of us, right? It covers a lot more. You can also use the current situation with the government shutdown and flights as leverage, right? Now, there's some questions around what they're going to cover or not cover, but you never know what's going to happen with travel. You're booking a trip that's $5,000. Why wouldn't you pay the $150 to cover that? Right? Now, we do ask, now this is only for cancellation. There's options for something called a travel credit or a cash refund. Travel credit, what it's going to do is give them money to use to rebook the trip, which also means they have to come back to you to rebook it. So it protects your getting paid for your work. Cash refund is just what it sounds like. They're getting their money back. This is an uncomfortable question. What are you comfortable spending per night? Or spending? What's your budget? Two reasons. A lot of people have no idea what it should cost. The other reason is they don't want to tell you how much they want to spend because they're afraid you're going to max it out their budget. I'm open and transparent with my clients. I need to know how much you're able to spend so I can get you everything you want for this trip. Now, I assure them, unless I have to use your whole budget, I'm not going to. But budget also determines options. Like if I had one of my first clients, they told me a budget and I came back with what they wanted, what everything. They're like, "Oh, really? Like, can we knock it club level?" I said, "Not with that budget." They doubled their budget. That wasn't their true budget. I've learned how to talk to them better now, so I get the true budget. But we have to have a budget. If you don't have a budget, we can't help you with options. And do you really, like, somebody says, oh, just not too expensive. Well, not too expensive is very different for a family that both parents are doctors and a family that pinches every penny and has saved up for this trip. Not too expensive can vary. That's not a number. We need a number. Do they want to put down a deposit or make payments to pay the balance in full at the time of booking? I do tell them that sometimes paying in full means that I can use my wholesale rates and save them money. Now, obviously, if their trip is within, the next month to 3 months, they might have to pay in full no matter what. So we look at that and let them know. These are some questions to help rule out the time wasters. Have you already priced this trip online? If they say yes, I say, not a problem. Please send me a screenshot of the checkout page and make sure it shows me everything that's included. I want to make sure I'm comparing apples to apples when I look for your trip. Are you already working with another travel agent? Now, some people might have different opinions about this than me. If a potential client says to me yes, and they're just waiting to hear back, not, oh, I contacted somebody, but they never got back to me. They're not really helpful, so I'm not going to use them. That's different. But if they are currently working with another agent, I personally say, out of professional courtesy, I want you to continue working with them. If for some reason that relationship doesn't work out, feel free to come back to me. But I don't want to waste my time knowing I'm competing against another travel agent who is probably looking at a lot of the same inventory as me, right? When will you be ready to book? And if I find what you're looking for, are you ready to book with me? This is key. If I find what you're looking for within your budget, are you ready to book with me? Oh, well, it depends on what you find. Well, now I know this might be a time waster, right? We got to do that. Are you the only financial decision maker for this trip? If the answer is no, our next call needs to include the other financial decision makers. Okay? And before we get off the phone, we want to set a follow-up appointment time, a date and a time that we're going to get back on the phone with them to go over the quote. Okay? Yes, I'm getting back on the phone because I want to make the trip come to life. I want to tell them why I gave them what I gave them, right? So we talked about all this stuff in there. So now we're moving on to researching the quote. If you are a brand new agent, your first 3 to 5 bookings, you want to touch base with your mentor every step. Hey, I just had this. If it's before your consult call and you're nervous about it, please touch base with them. Ask them some tips. After that, hey, I did my inquiry. Great. Send me the completed inquiry form so I can guide you on what vendors to look at, how you should put this together. Okay? At least your first 3 to 5 bookings, get help every step of the way. We don't want to just check one place. Sometimes we can find the same trip or very similar options, and different vendors will be in the best interest of both our clients and ourselves as far as better pricing and better commission. It's not always the same either. We call it shop the vendors. We got to double check things. Yes, we want to check reviews. Please take checking reviews with a grain of salt. If most of those reviews are really good and there's like a couple thrown in there that are horrible, those are probably people that never would write a review unless they were unhappy or something didn't meet what they thought the expectation was. It it may not be that something was wrong with the place they went. It could be, oh, they were unhappy that there was really bad weather all week, so they're going to find something to bash about where they went. And it's not a 100% truthful review. Okay? So when I check reviews, so let me just pull up, for example. So let's say I'm in Vax and I'm putting together a trip. I'm going to redo that because when it's like that, it's not going to load right. All right. So it will give us some. And don't worry when you're like, oh gosh, I don't know where to even start looking. That's part of what we're here for. Okay, we're here to help you. I'm just picking some random times. So when I look at all these hotels, I'm gonna go, oh my gosh, I have no idea what any of this means, right? Come on, Vax, you can do it. But what I do is I will look at the reviews. Vax, we can click to see some reviews. Depending on where you're looking, you might not be able to see reviews. So what I will do, it really wants to go slow. Anyway, let's pretend I found one. What I will do is I will physically copy and paste the name of the hotel. When you Google search something, typically, look, 50,000 Google reviews. Click it. Make sure this is typically going to leave it at most helpful. I want most recent. Because what if something has changed, right? 5, 5, 5 of 5, 5 of 5, 5 of 5, 5 of 5, 4 of 5. I'm not worried about a 4 or 5. I'm going to scroll. So far, nothing is alarming me, right? I'm not reading them all. I'm reading. All right, we've got a 3. Let's check. Now, this person, their biggest complaint was lineups for food and drinks, too many people. Well, you went to a big all-inclusive. They also said there was no fresh guacamole and they thought the drinks were watered down. So their biggest complaints were about food and drink and a lot of people. We don't know what their real experience was, but most of what I'm seeing are 4s and 5s. Here's a 2. Now, this was 9 hours ago. They're unhappy with the front desk staff. We came with a large group of people and they dropped the rooms. So, dropped the ball on the rooms. Potentially, they didn't think the service was fast enough, but they were there with a giant group of people. Um, I mean, they asked for late checkout. They said without checking, they said no. Well, a lot of places aren't going to give a late checkout, but they'll hold your bags and let you use the facilities, but they're not going to let you leave the room, right? So this sounds like after pleading with the front desk, it sounds like they were argumentative as well. And I don't know about you, but if I was working a front desk and people just wanted to argue with me, I'm probably not going to want to work with them. Large resort, 20,000 steps a day. So these are their complaints, right? But where it's a random review thrown in that's a bad review, my thought process is those are people, and it's not like there's like a one, like there's a couple of ones, but if it's random ones thrown in, but most of them are 4s and 5s, I feel completely comfortable sending them here, right? So that's where, it's you got to kind of read between the lines when it comes to reviews. We get all the elements for the trip. Make sure we haven't missed anything. They asked me for transfers from their house to the airports. We can provide that, right? Transfers in destination. We included it or a rental car. Everything they'd asked for, we're not missing anything. This is also a great place that our mentors can look at what we've put together and check that we're not missing anything. Now, this is important and a hard one for a lot of people to grasp. Find the best value, not the cheapest price. Yeah, the cheapest price might look appealing, but it might not include everything. Or if something goes wrong and they have to cancel, they're not getting any money back because it's a non-refundable room. And even travel insurance won't cover that unless you specifically got a different travel insurance package. All right. We do want to check the travel requirements on travel.state.gov. Now, understand that we cannot do any of the processing for them, but we can get them the information. Make sure we know how long their passport has to be valid for where they're going. Any forms they need or fees for entering countries, we need to provide them the information so that they can do that. Now, this might be an uncomfortable conversation. But if you know that they're going to a country that has restrictions on people with any criminal past to enter the country, for example, potentially going into Canada, you can't even have had a DUI. So we need to ask if it's one of those countries. We want to be very familiar with travel requirements, and this should be a site we bookmark and we keep track of travel.state.gov. Current passport processing times. All right. Because if they don't have one yet and they want to travel soon, we want to double check. When we deliver the quote, because now we got something ready, we're ready to give them the information. This this does not necessarily mean make a pretty quote to send them. I don't. Sometimes I do. It depends on what it is. Prepare for yourself. I put something together for me so that I have all the information. The info, what it includes, what's the features of this resort or this cruise line or that cruise ship. What did we put together for an itinerary? Now, if it is a complicated trip, I will absolutely put together that itinerary and information. Like, if it's a multiple destination trip somewhere, I'm not just going to try to talk through it on the phone. I'm going to send it to them right before we get on the phone. I'm not going to email it days before. I'm going to email it to them like the minute we're getting on the phone. Hey, I just sent you an email with the itinerary. Why don't you pull it up so we can go through it together? Right? Because I have found the quickest way to get ghosted by a potential client is to just send them the quote. Now they have all the information to go book it themselves. Or even though it's within their budget, they got a sticker shock and they go, oh God, oh, I can't do this trip. Right? But when we deliver over the phone, we're going to make the trip come to life for them. So I'm really excited that I found this for you. It matches what you're looking for because you told me that you wanted a mix between relaxation, but you also want the option for activities. This resort has an adults only area that you can go to the spa. They have an adults only pool that is, has quiet hours or things like that. But they also have party areas of the resort and they have nighttime entertainment. You told me you really wanted multiple food options. There's great reviews on the food at this resort. I chose this also because you told me you would like to have the opportunity to do things like snorkel or use um, kayaks without leaving the resort, and they provide that there for you, right? I'm not just telling them what it has, I'm telling them why I chose it specifically for them because of what they told me. I can also now, if I haven't sent them anything, I could text them pictures as I'm talking to them. I have them ready on my phone. So I'm sending you a picture right now of what the type of room would look like that I have found for you. Here's a picture of that beach and the pool area. You told me it was really important to you that there were facilities for the kids and there was a great splash pad area because you've got toddlers. Here's a picture of it. Okay. Now, again, the next thing I'm going to say might not go with what you've heard from other trainers. I believe that less is more when it comes to giving them options. Most of the time, I only give one quote, one option. I usually have a backup plan if they don't like it, but I am not of the belief give three quotes. Some people will say give a high quote, a middle quote, and a low quote. Why? Now I've just given them more things to have to think about and decide. My clients mostly come to me because they want the decisions made for them. They're overwhelmed by the process. They don't have time to deal with it. Why am I going to give them more work to have to decide? I personally don't. I know that that's not everyone's philosophy. It is my philosophy. Unless they specifically ask me for multiple choices. right? Or if it's an easy comparison, like, hey, we're going to Disney. Can you give me the price with and without the dining plan? Can you give me the price of a value hotel, a moderate hotel, and a deluxe hotel? There's not a lot of variance in those quotes. It's just different options at the same place, and they've asked for it. So I don't give more unless they've asked for it. And most people aren't concerned by that, right? Now they've agreed to the booking. They like what you presented, they're ready to book. We need client info, proper government spelling of their name, birth dates of everyone, typically address at least of the main guest. And we do need, I take pictures, I have them send me pictures of their passports. Or if they're traveling within the US, all of the adults' IDs. I want to make sure I'm entering the information for flights or for a cruise directly from what I see on their legal ID, because that's what it's going to be compared to when they arrive at the airport or the cruise ship. Are they accepting or denying insurance? Now, I understand that on the credit card authorization form, it says offered or accepted. If they're denying it, I have a separate form I make them sign because I want to cover myself. Well, they never said that I could get insurance, so I didn't know, and I wish I had known. No questions asked. Here's my form, fill it out. You said you don't want it. I understand the risk of not having it. Blah, blah, blah. Credit card authorization form is next. And I know we have training specifically on these things. So when we do the credit card authorization form, we do also have to ask for a photo of the ID of the person who it is and the card. Now, before people go, oh my gosh, no one's going to give me a picture of their credit card. It's not with the whole number. All we need to see is they can cover up everything except the last four digits and that their name is showing, because we just want to make sure the card they told us really is theirs. We're protecting both them and us from fraud. So when I have clients who ask me that, I tell them specifically that's why. All right. So I explain to them this is to protect me and to protect you. I do not keep these pictures longer than I have to. All right. So here's a template. I will share this just because when I downloaded from the back office or the travel cafe, the formatting is really off, so I formatted it so that it is not all over the place. So essentially, I made just a little picture on Canva that has my logo, my name, my phone number, my email, all that right here. So you do want to put your business info here. I do suggest putting your logo on here. On my templates right here, I put my name, first and last name, because whoever hereby authorized Tasha Smutney to process the credit card information provided for the reservation listed below. I fill out as much of this as I can for them. Again, I don't want them to have to do work. If I could not hold this without a card, I don't have a confirmation number. I can add it later. Okay? Their dates, all of that. They're not putting the whole card. We're going to call them and get the card. Total to charge. Again, this is where we would put yes or no, but if I say yes, it was provided and no, it was accepted, I'm going to make them sign my other card. And their signature and date. The only thing is this can't be like a typed signature. They can use a markup tool of any kind, a PDF filler. I've had, especially older clients who are not technologically inclined, they will print this whole thing out, sign it, and send me a picture of the form. Or a lot of printers have that built-in scanner. They'll print it, physically sign it, fill out whatever they have to. They'll use the scanner and send it back to me. As long as it's not a typed signature, they're good. All right. And I know they're going to go into more detail about that, or they did. I don't remember when that training is. It might be tomorrow. It might have been earlier today. All right. This is to protect them and to protect us. It doesn't matter if it's a family member, a friend, we need it for every booking. Now, we're not sending it anywhere, we're keeping it on file till after travel. When booking, we want to first triple check everything. Did we choose the right airports? Did I accidentally put Portland, Maine instead of Portland, Oregon? Did I accidentally send them to Paris, Texas instead of France? Because if it's a blatant mistake by you, like something like that, errors and omissions insurance doesn't cover you. You have to be doing your due diligence. Names match on the passports to what you booked. Birth dates match. We got the correct travel dates. We included transfers. We included travel protection or have something signed saying that they're denying it. When we book, add any frequent flyer numbers they have for that airline. If they have TSA PreCheck or global entry, their known traveler number, we can enter it. We enter the passport info at the time of booking. Now, if their trip's not for a while and they have to get passports, we ask them to send these things to us as soon as they have them, and we can add them. Okay? Other details. These are important things. If someone is traveling with a minor outside of the country and not both parents are going, this doesn't matter if there's a divorce situation or a custody situation or not. Yes, it's even more important if that's the case. Or say the grandparents are taking the children out of the country. We need a notarized letter from the parents or the other parent authorizing that. Now, customs may or may not ask for it, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Okay? We want to be sure layover times are long enough. Domestic connections within the country, 1 hour is enough. An hour or more. If they're traveling with small children, you're probably going to want to give them a longer layover to give time for bathroom breaks, changing clothes if needed from food or other accidents, changing between wherever their gates might be with small children takes a long time. If it is an international flight, when they first, especially coming back, first time into the US, that first, it has to be 3 hours. Depending where they're coming from, they may have to go through customs and go back through TSA. So 3 hour minimum for international arrivals for a connection. Make sure any special needs that we know about are added to the reservation at the time of booking and make all special requests at the time of booking. That could mean I've made the reservation and now I'm calling the hotel directly. I recommend that anyway because the confirmation number we get might not be the hotel's confirmation number. So we call and say, hey, I'm a travel agent. I just booked through a third party than you. I'm not booking direct with the hotel. I just want to, get your confirmation number, the hotel confirmation number. It does two things. It makes sure it actually went in their system. Now, maybe not immediate, give a little time. And then at that time, you can say, great, my client also would like to request a first floor room. My client also, I want to make sure it's notated that this is their 10th wedding anniversary. Do you have anything complimentary that can be given to them? Whatever, that's when we could do it. After they've booked, we want to send a confirmation to the clients. Have them check the spellings and birth dates of all guests. So I typically put my email address on all bookings so that communications come to me and then I can send it to the client. So yes, I can forward that to them. Make sure you send the guest copy, not the agent copy with your commission on it. We want them to check the spellings of their names immediately because flights can be changed within the first 24 hours, the ticketing of the flights without issues. After 24 hours, there could be change or cancellation fees. We want to give the guests a timeline of what to expect from you and give them their final payment dates. If they've booked a trip that's 2 years from now, there's not going to be much for you to do right away. I see all the time people online. Well, I booked this trip with my travel agent. I haven't heard from them. Well, when's your trip? Oh, it's next year. Well, we don't have to do anything right now. So I let them know, hey, you told me you'd like to make, payments every 3 months. I'll reach out to you just before that. You want to wait till final payment to make dates? What I'm going to do is about 2 weeks before the final payment date, I'm going to reach out to you with a credit card authorization form and ask you when you'd like me to make the payment. It's a Disney booking. Hey, this is the date we can book all of your dining reservations. I want to make sure we have a meeting to strategize and plan what you want. Whatever the case may be, tell them what to expect from you so they don't think you're just like ignoring them. We want to confirm the booking, as we said, with the resort, not just the vendor, any special needs and requests. Immediately submit your commission tracking form. Immediately. We find that, and again, we have a whole training. When you go on your travel site and you go to dashboard, you're going to click Commissions Hub. The reason it's important to fill it out immediately is because if you do not fill it out within 30 days of making the booking, they're going to reduce your commission amount. This is because they've been having to chase down and figure out whose commissions are whose. And it's taking a lot of extra staff away from their normal job. Okay? And again, we have a whole training on this, but essentially, the only way that Archer can connect it to you is with the commission tracking form. It's based on the guest name and the booking number. That's what they get when they get those big checks from places. And then they have to just distribute it. Now, most of us on our teams, we probably have some kind of a booking shout out form. As mentors, we don't know that you've made a booking unless you tell us. Now, at the very minimum, a lot of us like to include your booking totals in our team totals. But we do, so if you don't want to be celebrated, you don't want your posted on Facebook, you can say, hey, don't do a shout out, but here's what I booked. Okay. Things to put in my calendar when I book. I live by my calendar, including I put client trips, I put client payment dates, final payment date, I put when I want to check them in for their flights, whatever. 2 to 3 weeks and 1 day prior to final payment date, we send the reminder and the credit card authorization form. Feel free to screenshot, take a picture of this page. 2 weeks prior to the trip, we contact the resort to confirm any special requests, and we can ask for any complimentary amenities. 1 to 2 weeks prior, make sure we check for any flight updates or changes, seats, flight numbers, flight times. Sometimes there's slight changes, sometimes there's major changes, and we let the client know. A week prior, we're going to reconfirm everything with the resort and transfers, etc. The day before travel, we're going to check our clients in for their flights. We just go on the airline's website. Typically, all you need is the reservation number and their last name. Do you have to do it? No. Really nice touch, though, right? The day before travel, text your clients, have a great trip. Please let me know if you need anything. I do typically in that week before, I will put all their information again, like on a single document. So if they want to print it, they want to save it digitally and have it with them, I will make sure they have all their info. While the client's on their trip, I mail them a thank you card. I put 2 business cards in it, one for them, one for a friend. Then it's at their house when they arrive home. The day after the client returns from their trip, I can email them a feedback form or just ask them, hey, I'd love to know how because sometimes they don't talk to you during the trip. I'd love to know how your trip was. I'd love for you to leave me a review, right? Add to your calendar expected commission date, pay date. When do you think you're going to get paid so you can keep track of that? Put your clients' details in your calendar, their anniversary, their birthday, etc. Then you can reach out to them annually. Hey, I know I booked your honeymoon. Your fifth anniversary is coming up. Would you like to book a trip for that? Or send them a birthday card, an anniversary card. Lets them know that you care about them more than just the trip they booked with you. During travel, we want to be aware of anything that could cause problems. Be proactive. Check their flight status. Know their travel details. They might contact you and be like, so I didn't bring that paper with me. I don't have my flight info and I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Make sure we can tell them. We do have to handle any client encounters or issues that they have. Flight delays and cancellations. Now, sometimes it's easier for the client at the airport to get it handled before us, but we can let them know, here's what you need to say if your flight is delayed or canceled. Here's what you ask for. Misconnections, any issues with their room, any concerns they have, anything that they paid for that they're not getting as a service. Okay? We are in charge of making sure if something goes wrong, we help. Because remember, things can go wrong in travel. It's not that something went wrong that the client's going to remember. It's how you handled and helped them that they're going to remember. After travel, we're sending that thank you note, asking for feedback or a review. Or do you have any photos that I can post of your trip that you wouldn't mind me using on my social media? And we're going to contact our clients with any specials we have, birthdays, anniversaries, because now they're on our mailing list, right? So here is a picture of all the steps. Feel free to take a picture of this. These are all the steps we talked about. Client consult on the phone is first. Second, we research all the options and we create the quote. Third, we present the quote on the phone. Hopefully they're like, this is wonderful. Let's get it booked. Booking. We have to have a credit card authorization form before we charge their card for anything. Even if they give you the info, you need that signed form with their ID photos and the card photo. Confirm all details. Send the confirmations. Give the client the timeline of your services. We make the final payment. Any pre-trip confirmations and info sent to the client. Check in for their flights. Handle any issues. Post-trip follow-up. Okay, so that's that snapshot of all the steps we just talked about. Yes, it's a lot of info. You're not alone in any of this. We want to help you every step of the way. But questions about what we just went over, you can either type or unmute. What questions do we have about parts of the booking process? And I'm just going to check if there's any on Facebook. And you might not have any. You might be processing it. That's totally fine. Please also, as a new agent, know we don't want you to try to do these first 3 to 5 bookings by yourself. Let us help you every step of the way. Okay? I'm gonna stop my recording. You're welcome.